Hwang Jang, he put me on a pretty rigorous training program. What we used to do, I'd get up at about 4:35 in the morning, go over to where he was staying in his apartment, wake him up. You know, we'd go downstairs, have a little bit of dojang, which is like a tofu sort of milk. And we'd go upstairs to the top of this rather tall apartment building and practice on the roof. And one of the things that he told me that I should never ever do is never kick a heavy bag, never kick anything. And I said, why never kick anything? What he had me do is he had me get up on top of the building and face the sky. He said, okay, I want you to pick a point in the sky and I want you to side kick that point 20 times. And I will tell you whether you've made it or not, whether you're kicking in the same position. Of course, the first time you kick, you may hit the point, but the second time you can't because your mind has been jarred, your body has moved position, you don't know where that point is anymore. But you try to remember and you try to keep focused. So that was extremely difficult. And we'd have to do it again and again and again and again with all different types of kicks. Never allowed to kick anything. And I thought that was kind of strange. I said, how can you learn distancing? How can you learn timing? And all that sort of thing. He says, don't worry, it'll take care of itself. But then what I realized, the theory behind that, one of his theories is that nothing, no human being can move as fast as the mind can move. If you have that kind of focus, that kind of ability to hit something that the mind is focusing on very, very quickly, that's very, very high speed. That will increase your speed and also your distancing because it's much more difficult to pick an abstract point in your mind than it is to see another body moving, you know, where you've got really something to focus on. And I found out much later on that his theory was correct, that I didn't have to kick a heavy bag or any of this sort of thing. He had developed a very, very special internal system for doing Taekwondo that was different from anybody else in the Taekwondo world. And it had a lot to do with circular movement, angular momentum, the style or the internal motion inside the body that you don't recognize readily that's able to deliver this type of motion. So anyway, we continued practicing, working together, and when we came to Hong Kong, we continued that, and we went to one of the beaches. By this time, I think Hwang Jang joined us. He wanted to learn Taekwondo. We used to get up early, drive out either by motorcycle or car, out to one of the beaches where the sand is very, very thick, and do our kicks and movements in deep sand. And the reason he'd have us do it in deep sand is it would build up the leg muscles and the balance. So you'd be able to jump higher, you know, develop more power, coordination, and so forth. It's very difficult to move, you know, in deep sand. Well, that was another one of his training techniques. And he said that all of this was only a small portion of the type of training that they used to do in Korea. So anyway, later on, I was able to take Hwang Jang-lee's internal system and develop it into a videotape called The Art of High Impact Kicking, where I think about 700 different kicks would come out of 8 basic kicks. But his theory, there's a lot more, of course, to Hwang Jang-lee's theory, but I found that in all the people that I've met in the Taekwondo world, Hwang Jang-lee's system and his method of delivery is not only scientific, but it's and very, very profound, but probably the most efficient form of Taekwondo that I've ever met or ever experienced. And that's why one of the reasons why he was very, very good in films. And he was so coordinated that he was able to pick up the Chinese Kung Fu movements and also adapt Taekwondo or the power hitting technique of Korean Taekwondo into Chinese Kung Fu, which is a whole other thing, how he managed to do that. People would look at his motion and say, wow, your motion is really, really good. But he had combined Chinese Kung Fu with Taekwondo, and he'd also combined his understanding of camera work, knowing if you've got a medium shot or you've got a long shot, what type of movements, you know, choreograph the best, you know, depending on the particular lens and the camera. So he was very, very aware of the camera as well. And even though the director didn't have to tell him anything, he just knew exactly what had to be done. A lot of times he was even organizing the actors, you know, sort of angling the actors and compensating for the actors themselves so that we'd get a much better shot.